Manchester United's preseason has come to an end. We've rounded off our preseason preparations with a 1-1 draw against Fiorentina at Old Trafford before winning 5-4 on penalties to become winners of the Snapdragon Cup. Now, it's one of the most interesting things to watch Manchester United and to see that maybe there's a lot more work to be done with regards to that. So Manchester United played Fiorentina at Old Trafford, but that was not the major highlight of everything. It was basically, the 1-1 draw was it, no doubt. Manchester United prepared for preseason, and the idea with playing against Fiorentina is playing against a different type of team with regards to how we're going to face different teams in the Premier League. So the preseason started obviously with Leeds, so a Premier League team, right? They just qualified. They just were promoted to the Premier League. Played against them, got the sense of how they play in preparation for what we're going to see when we play them in the Premier League. And then the next one we played was against West Ham. Different teams for different parts of the table where Manchester United usually end up. So we played against West Ham, beat them 2-1, and it was a good game. Basically we got a chance to see what Manchester United can be like when it comes to playing against teams, that can do a mid to low block, basically. So that was against West Ham, right? And then firstly we played against Bournemouth, where we played against a team that it looks like we are knowing how we're going to defend better, how we're going to, play against them, how we're going to kind of like play against a team that has basically been playing like a flair kind of football, moving fast-paced counter-attack kind of football, and we beat them 4-1 because they were wide open and all of that. So it was very strategic. I'm not saying that Man United planned preseason. Obviously that preseason summer series, the Premier League summer series, was the one that basically the Premier League planned, and it just suited Manchester United for where we are and where we want to be as a club. And then obviously we played against Everton, hard drilled, low block, conventional 4-4-2 playing, long ball. They even played 3-4-3 at some point, and it was a hard 4-2-2 win. And then now we just played Fiorentina. Then to round off the series, right? And then to round off the preseason, we now played against Fiorentina, where we played a 1-1 draw in full time, and then obviously at penalties we beat them 5-4 after Altay Bayindir saved. So we're going to just kind of run through the game, what happened in the game quickly, and then we'll just basically round it all off and give our thoughts. Basically, Robin Gosens, scored an own goal for Manchester United to cancel out a Simon Sohm's opener for the away side, basically inside the opening 25 minutes, with no further action in the way of goals, forcing a shootout at the end of extra time, normal time. Altay Bayindir made the only save of the 10 spot kicks from Fiorentina's 5th attempt, and Kobbie Mainoo then converted to earn a 5-4 win on penalties, basically. There was basically a buoyant mood at Old Trafford before action, and everybody had something to be cheerful about, right? Because there was a new player in town, including the lineups. Everybody had especially the fans in England and in Manchester wanted to get a sense of what Amorim is like, because obviously the last time they watched them play in England was in May, right? So Matheus Cunha, Diego Leon, Bryan, Mbeumo, and the most recent acquisition that was acquired within a week or thereabouts, who was just confirmed just 2 hours before kickoff, Benjamin Šeško, were presented to the supporters on the pitch. And there was also a special moment for David De Gea, the legend at the club. he received a commemorative award from his friend and former teammate Bruno Fernandes before, the action took place. Now, in the first half, it was basically all about set pieces, right? And this is one thing that Manchester United need to work on. That's why I put the thumbnail as more work, right? Now, of our 4 signings made so far, Cunha and Mbeumo started, and this is the lineup that we started with that game. In that game, the lineup that we started with was kind of like a sense of the lineup that we probably will start with against Arsenal, and it's going to be super interesting to see, right? It's going to be super interesting to see. I know FOPMob basically lined it up in a way. If you look at the FOPMob stats, the starting lineup, they lined up in a way that looked like, oh, Man United are going to line up with Mason Mount as a false 9. So this is the lineup that obviously was put forward that Man United were going to use. Other, apps and sites lined up in the way that we expect, when you see our front 3 to line up. Now, first and foremost, we're going to start with the back 3. I think this was kind of my predicted lineup, except for one person was missing. No, 2 people were missing. Oh, 3 rather. Now, Bayindir in net, Lenny Yoro. I thought that De Ligt would start, but Harry Maguire would start, which is potentially Ruben Amorim's preferred centre back. And then Aiden Heaven, he likes a left centre back to be in the game. Harry Maguire, maybe because he wanted him to get a lot of match sharpness. Other games he's been having halftime or 60 minutes. That's 45 minutes, 60 minutes play. And then obviously Harry Maguire got a 73 minutes play and got subbed off at 73rd minute. Aiden Heaven got a knock and was subbed off at the 73rd minute as well. And then obviously we have a midfield of Bruno and Casemiro that kind of worked in a way in this preseason, but hasn't really worked overall generally. I know Casemiro is not as mobile, but Casemiro can do something. And then we have Bruno Fernandes, who was the one dictating play and all of that, making things, covering every blade of grass, defending, attacking, and all of that. Then you have Patrick Dogu. Patrick Dogu as the left wing back, potential starting wing back, and then Amad Diallo as the right wing back. And then our 2 10s, we had Mason Mount on the left 10. Well, FOPMob had Mason Mount as a false 9, which is actually, well, what you can say to give them an excuse is basically more of a fluid front 3, because most people still think that Amorim is playing a certain way that they assume it is, but it's basically a fluid front 3. If you look at the shape is always the same, the 3-4-3. Everybody's in their position, but it's not a rigid 3-4-3 because everybody is moving around, especially in the front 3. And I guess that's what Ruben Amorim wanted last season, but it's not something that you can actually instill in the players. So Matheus Cunha played the full 90 minutes. And he played as the 9, as a forward, as a striker, and then Mbeumo played as a right 10, Mason Mount played as a left 10, and then basically they were rotating and moving around, changing positions. Sometimes you see Mason Mount press, sometimes you see Mbeumo press as the 9, sometimes you see Cunha press. Anybody who finds themselves in that position will stay in that position and then switch around like that. And I like it, it's fluid. And then obviously, Ruben Amorim came after the game and said part of the reasons why it was a little bit difficult to make more clear-cut chances is because we didn't have a reference number 9. And it raises questions to certain things, including the fact that obviously Rasmus Højlund didn't get a start or get any minutes in this game. And it fueled speculations, including from Fabrizio Romano, who said that Rasmus Højlund could potentially be sold, right? Now, if we're going to go with, before we get to all those ones, if we're going to go with basically how everybody performed. Altay Bayindir was okay, had a good game, didn't really like pull up threes. Was the goals that were scored were goals you can't save. It all boils down to the defense and their positioning and leaving spaces in the back post or out at that edge of the 18-yard box or 6-yard box. as the case may be, depending on when the cross is coming. And then Harry Maguire, did okay. You could tell that he's not fully fit with when it comes to match sharpness, but he's doing okay, defending really well. He needs like one more or two more games to get into it, or maybe because it's preseason, he probably doesn't like preseason or something. And then obviously Aiden Heaven did really well, was coming through leaps and bounds, and he's really, of the two signings we've made from Arsenal, he's the one that has kind of turned Amorim's mind and all of that. So Aiden Heaven did really well. And then Patrick Dogu, as always, doing Patrick Dogu things, leading, from the back and, pressing and creating chances. But we didn't have as much chances as would be expected to have to be able to, and we didn't convert as many as we could with that. And then if we're going to go with the midfield, Bruno Fernandes as well, everybody expects that Bruno Fernandes would be this guy who in midfield, he would not take risks, he would try and make it short, simple passes and all that. But that's not how Bruno Fernandes plays, and you don't want a player to not play the way he can express himself and all of that. So Bruno Fernandes, he had a good game basically overall. If we're going to do a player rating for him, basically he had a 7.5 player rating. He played the full 90 minutes. He had one shot. He created one chance. He had accurate passes, 59 passes off 65, which is 91%. Shots on target, had one shot that went over the bar, and everybody made a big deal out of that one. 78 touches in total in that game, and touches in the opposition box was 1. Now, if we're going to go with Casemiro really played well as well in that midfield. It's slightly slower, he's slightly slower, and I think the pace of the Premier League might not be, suited for him for so many games, but he was subbed off at the 73rd minute, and then we had Ahmad, who played also, but he was largely ineffective or largely missing in the game. And then Bryan Mbeumo, still trying to get his stride. He created the most chances in the game, 4 in the match, and he lost the most duels as well, 8 in the match, but he's getting his hang of it. 74 minutes played, at least trying to catch up. He's playing catch up, and that's what I think will happen to our new signing Benjamin Šeško. He'll try to play catch up as well in training. I would doubt if Ruben Amorim will play him in the first game. And then the same thing for Matheus Cunha. He's getting there. At least he started preseason with the team, and obviously slow start, but it's going to get there eventually. And then Mason Mount as well, who's everybody's favorite player right now because he's doing everything that needs to be done as a player. And the amazing thing about all our front three, especially in this game, they were all 26 years old, right? So these are guys who are kind of coming to their peak and all of that. So yeah, Mason Mount, good game. And then if we're going to go for player ratings, Altay Bayindir had a 6.5 performance. Lenioro had a 7.5 performance. Did okay. Had a knock at some point to think that this guy is only 19, literally only 19, and we still have him. He has played one season. He's gained valuable experience in the Premier League and can do even more. Only 19. That's the thing. It still baffles me in it. So he played the full 90 minutes. He had 93 pass accuracy, 68 over 73. He had shots on target 2 of 200% because of those are the headers and all of that. Big chances missed, 1, that header. The touches and the opposition, total touches 85. Touches in the opposition box 4, passes into final third 4, and it seems to be one of our outlets. And then accurate long balls 67%, amongst other things. And defensive recoveries, tackles 1, 50%, blocks 1, clearances 2, headed clearances 2, defensive actions 6, recoveries 2, and all of that. So there's a whole lot that we can unwrap in this one. And then for Aiden Heaven, he had a 6.5 performance, could have even done better. Harry Maguire, 6.5 performance, could have done better as well. Patrick Dogu, 7.0 performance. And then we have Bruno Fernandes, as I said earlier, 7.5. Casemiro, 7.5. Ahmad 7.0, Bryan Mbeumo 6.5, still trying to play catch up, as I said, played some 4 minutes. Matheus Cunha 7.0. You could see that what he's going to bring to the team. The missing Mount we have are 6.5 performance, and then obviously Luke Shaw, who came in as a sub, he had a 6.0 performance as well. Okay, some 3 minutes. Depending on how things pan out, there's a potential that Luke Shaw will probably even play ahead of Aiden Heaven, but we'll only tell pretty much later as things unfold. Matheus De Ligt played in the 73rd minutes, 6.0. Kobbie Mainoo 6.0, 73rd minute as well, played really well. Diogo Dalot 6.0. Came in the 74th minute, and then obviously Manuel Ugarte 8 points. Manuel Ugarte actually had nothing to report, came in and played only 6 minutes, and I think for him there's a whole lot to learn, and I think Amorim is learning a lot about him as we go. So if we're going to talk about the match stats, the entire match stats for the team, basically 61% to 39% ball possession for both teams. Man United 61%. Fiorentina had 39%. 14 shots in total against Fiorentina's 10, and then total shots on target 5 for Man United, 1 against Fiorentina, and that was the 1 goal they scored. Big chances 3, Fiorentina 2. Big chances missed, Man United 3, Fiorentina missed 1, basically. So they did better. We had 449 passes in total to Fiorentina's 270. So we got a sense of an idea what to expect in the team. Now, obviously, another thing that happened that was interesting to see for Man United fans more especially is the unveiling of Benjamin Šeško. Benjamin Šeško has been unveiled, confirmed, and everything. I'm going to do another video of the signing, and we're going to talk about what to expect, and then obviously we're going to do a player profile for him, as we always do in the week. And then there were no, basically, if we talk about what happened in the second half, there were basically no alterations at the break, basically, in terms of personnel. Bryan Mbeumo and Mount's roles in the front three kind of appeared as more fluid. Basically, they were moving around, rotating between the right central roles and as well the left as well. They were switching and all of that. And like in the opening half, Fiorentina also forced the first threat with Moise Kean's advance through the left that saw him stand up a cross from the byline, which also was deflected by Dogu into his own crossbar. So that was the one that Altay Bayindir could not save, basically could not do anything about. The second one, rather, under pressure from goalkeeper Sohm, who, whose goal bound volley moments later was well cut out by Patrick Dogu. Mr. Mount's pressure, let's not forget that he seems to be playing himself or changing Amorim's mind into whether he'll start or not, and that'll be very interesting to see what the starting lineup will potentially be. Bruno Fernandes had a shot over the box and all of that, but a preseason feeling became very evident as Bruno Fernandes turned on his style by turning on the ball cleverly in his own box and an intelligent flick beyond another opponent, while still having the recovery pace to challenge Moise Kean superbly, preventing him from going one-on-one against Bayindir. That was a situation where they tried to play a long ball over, and Bruno Fernandes found himself in the mid and chased back and slid and defended and all of that. So it was a good game in overall, but Man United needed to put in more effort, and there needs to be more work, especially on set pieces, because this is where the issues are. And then obviously with Benjamin Šeško coming in now as our striker, it will be very interesting to see. But one thing I want to talk about is basically, before we wrap this up, is basically the fact that Rasmus Højlund didn't get any minutes in this game, and it's worrying because it's one thing for him not to get minutes, another thing to know what it means or how it feels like. The rumors of him, leaving on loan to AC Milan, but it is very interesting. Basically, it's going to be very interesting to see how Man United, would fare with regards to Rasmus Højlund leaving, and all of that. I believe, as I've said, you guys have already heard me talk about this 1,000,001 times. I believe that Rasmus Højlund should stay and fight for his spot and play. Both of them can thrive in the same team, basically, with Šeško and Højlund playing as, two strikers. I mean, like, what I mean by two strikers, I mean playing off each other, right? Competing with each other. There's games to go around for them. In the front line, it makes us more, attacking, more, makes us have more depth in the front line and all of that. But it is what it is. We have to, make do with what we have and be very positive that the fact that Rasmus Højlund would decide to stay and fight for his place. So let me know your thoughts and feelings in all of this, just to wrap this all up. Let me know if your thoughts and feelings in all of this. What do you think about the whole preseason as a whole, and how do you think Man United could have fared, and what do you think that Man United should do in regards to that, to be able to kind of like be better ahead of preparation for Arsenal? Yeah, so let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section, and thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing, and for helping us grow this community together. We are growing pretty quickly, and we're about to hit another milestone, and a very good celebratory milestone. But thank you so much, at least, for helping us reach 1,000 subscribers last week. I really appreciate your comments and all of your kind words and all of that on our content, and I try as much as possible to read these comments. But yeah, thank you so much. And then the preseason's a wrap, and we're preparing for the season to start next Sunday, so a week today. So thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Thank you so much for all your comments. If you haven't already, please do like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as it relates to Manchester United. I'll see you on the next one. Take care, goodbye, and God bless.